So for me, it's not about chasing that $20 million. I want to do the work I like to do with the people I love to do it with and make a good living doing it.
It's another Wednesday, which means another episode of the Skid Steer Nation podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Deemer. And today we've got a pleasure of speaking to a gentleman who's been in business for about 5 years now, has 4 or 5 full-time employees and some part-time guys from the great state of Colorado. So we're going to talk to Danny and hear his story, the little bit of success and headaches that you have when you start adding team members, and dig deep into life as a boss and owner. Stick around. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Before we introduce Danny, I do want to remind you that Skid Steer Nation is your home for high-quality American-made skid steer attachments. So if you use a skid steer to make money for your business, head over to skidsteernation.com. High-quality American-made, large selection. We only work with family-owned manufacturers. So skidsteernation.com. With no further ado, Mr. Brewer, welcome to the Skid Steer Nation podcast. Thanks for taking time and joining us today.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Yeah, we just like in regular real life, I always like to share how shit goes for me sometimes. And Danny and I were scheduled for this morning. We had some overlap in my schedule. We had to move it later in the day, and I'm running about 15 minutes late. So Danny's been extremely patient, very grateful of that. And
we've been hit or miss on this thing from the get-go. This is 3 weeks in a row we've been trying to get it going.
Yeah. Yeah. So isn't that about life as a business owner right there?
100%, man. 100%.
Yeah. You gotta stay flexible and calm, I guess, and just roll with the punches. So Danny, man, tell me a little bit about your business. You've got Bijou Grading. You're located out in Colorado, which is, boy, one of my favorite states to visit.
Well, we're out actually kind of in the eastern part of Colorado, the stuff you don't see on, cards and on TV very much, where it's pretty flat out here. But we're in a small town called Kiowa. We started real small. It was just me and a buddy. We were working part-time. He had another job. I had another job where I was working for the local cat dealer. And, it was originally we started it to kind of make some money to go on cool hunting trips and do whatever we might want to do. We had a pretty good gig where we were at. And then the next thing we do, it snowballed on us. And for a little while, we were up to 8 guys. And I realized that was just too many to have. So I brought her back in and got down. And I think I got 3 full-times and 1 part-time that we run with. So, we're kind of in that little sweet spot where we like to be. We're not too big, not too small.
Yeah. So you were was it a demo operator for the Wagner Cat?
Yeah. I was a demonstration operator for him for about 2 years. And basically all I did is I went around and helped salesmen, trying to sell machines, doing demos. And then if someone bought a new machine, I'd go out and do a walk around with them and kind of, show them the ropes on the machine, stuff like that. I didn't get in with it long enough to get as deep to where you'd be like a certified demo instructor with them. But I do have to give Wagner credit, man. That company, they knew what I was doing. They knew I was working on the side, and they still loved me and was nice to me all along. So that's a pretty good outfit.
Yeah. I don't know if you know or not, but I'm located in Peoria, Illinois, which was the world headquarters of Caterpillar for
out there by Edwards. Yep.
Way over 100 years. So we got a lot of good friends that work for the cat company. So
they've been super good to me over the years. So I show my loyalty to them. But
yeah, so most of your equipment then, are you operating cat still?
Yeah, I got all cat, and then I got one old Vibramax roller that I try not to tell nobody about or take pictures of. It's a good roller. It does its job.
Yeah. It's a roller. Who cares, right?
Right, yeah. I just don't put it on.
Yeah, just don't put it on the website. Yeah, that's perfect. So you guys start this out part-time. Did you have like a type of service that you were really good at, or like people would call you at the beginning, or were you just kind of the jack of all trade guy in your area?
Well, I started off, I bought a case skid steer out of the cat's rental or used fleet. And it was wore out, hashed out when I got it. And then I had from a long time ago, I had an old M65 Alice Chalmers grader. So I started off, I just did driveways. And that's really what all that I wanted to do was just a driveway here and there. Well, then the next thing you know, a barn pad shows up. So you're doing a building pad, and then that building pad, there's footers to dig, and people can see you dig footers, and it just snowballs on you. It's luckily around here there was a bunch of guys I worked with that I knew that had other companies that had that like septics and stuff. So when the job started getting bigger, I could farm out. They could do the septics, I could do the dirt, and that's really how we started taking on bigger projects. Was just me and other small guys around here teaming up and attacking those. But
Yeah, and I'm telling you what, man, you are not the first person I've talked to that had that same strategy. And it's like your net worth is literally equal to your net work.
mm-hmm. Yep. It was really crazy how it blew up because, like I say, I wanted to do it part time and make. If we did 30,000 a year, I was going to be surprised. And the first year, I think we did 75,000 working nights and weekends, and then after that, it blew up. Another buddy who I knew, he took on a big road project and needed somebody to come in and run grader on it. So I bought a blade and teamed up with him doing that. And then the next thing you know, I got blades and scrapers and loaders, and it snowballed into being something I wasn't prepared for, to be honest. But
Yeah, you were saying earlier just a few minutes ago, you even got your own trucks.
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't make a ton of money off of the trucking. The trucking really turned out to be more of a convenience factor. Um, it seemed like whenever I needed trucks, I couldn't get trucks. And then, at the end of the day, you look at a project and you go do a driveway and it's $2,000 worth of grade work and $5,000 worth of material and trucking. And you're like, I just paid out, 75% of the job, 66% of the job. It should be nice to at least keep some of that in house.
Yeah.
And like I say, I don't make a ton, but it frees up my schedule and saves me the headache of trying to set them up. And we do make a little bit with them. So,
Yeah. And I think that's where, in my opinion, smart business owners, when they grow their business, it's the trucking isn't looked at as a source of revenue income as a priority. It's more of a
yeah.
convenience and you're not at the schedule or the mercy of the quarry or another company, and you can control your project.
It really frees us up on our mobs. There's a bunch of good lowboy guys around here, but once you get up past the point where you're running skid steers and mini graders and you need to have a lowboy moving your stuff, you can't just hope that somebody's gonna jump over and get you on 24 hours notice or 10 hours notice. Now if I need to, the great thing is I can stop things, tell my brother to go drop the belly dump, hook up to the lowboy, and go move the excavator, go move the scraper, go move the blade where it has to go. Because as things change on you in the drop of a hat, and you got to switch directions and get going somewhere else.
Yes, they do. Yeah, and you even getting into, well, you said this morning that you're prepping a job for paving. Are you actually doing the paving aspect too, or is that part of your network?
No, it's just part of my network.
Okay.
Some guys that I worked with at another company started a little paving outfit, and the job we're doing right now is one that we're teaming up with some local guys. It's for the local preschool for the town. So we all just kind of teamed up on it to make it happen, and it's a good little gig. But like I say, I got a bunch of guys that we worked with in the past that are doing our paving.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I don't want to get into. I'd rather just sub that out, do it for somebody else. I love prepping for it, but I don't want to have anything to do with owning that.
Well, hell, man, as much as you've been taking on over the last couple of years, I just had to ask because I wouldn't have been shocked if you said, yeah, we got a paver too.
I thought about it. There was a time I thought about it, but luckily I got a dad that he tells me, he's like, yeah, you might want to really, really reconsider stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned is you can't just be stuck in one type of work. You can't be pigeonholed doing just driveways or septics or building pads or basements or anything like that. You got to kind of be able to do a variety of everything in order, because from what I've seen, it comes in waves. Like this year we had a whole bunch of paving prep and a whole bunch of road projects, but last year we were pinching for electrical on a bunch of Tesla supercharger sites. So it's never the same thing. So if you try to say you're just a road builder or just a trenching and utility guy, at some point in time, that's going to dry up in your area. You got to be flexible. So like I said, I've
Yeah.
thought about getting into the paving, but that might be too much. I'll just help others.
It's starting to get out there. Yeah. I don't know. I've always got the philosophy that like you want to be really good at like three things.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably where you need to be at.
You don't have to say no to every job outside of those three, but like you want to be known in your area for three things.
Well, like that's one of the episodes I listened to was the don't say no episode. And I've always kind of lived by that motto with this thing is like the minute I say no, it gives somebody else the opportunity to say yes. And you never know when that guy this builder you're gonna go dig a basement for decides to go split up 40 acres and needs half a mile of road built. And
Yeah.
it's the minute you say no, like there's always gonna be somebody in there waiting in the wings for that opportunity. So
Well, I get that. I mean, and I guess my retort to that is like, if you look at those large civil contractors, if you called that company tomorrow and said, "Hey, I need my 200-yard driveway," they would say, "We're not the right company for you."
well, yeah, they would probably refer some yokel like me out there. Like, yeah, we know a guy. We worked with him for about 2 days. Call him, man.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, we do get some of those. There's some of the larger guys in town that I've worked with in the past that when stuff like that comes up, they do
Yeah.
shoot it off.
But I love your approach to it too. It's like, hey, I don't want to say no to these projects, but I don't want to be the one doing all the aspects. Like getting certified and understanding and doing septics, it's if you don't do it every day, you're not going to be fast and efficient at it.
Well, and for me, it's one of those things. Yeah, we could go do it. I've done lots of pipe and utilities over the years, but I've got friends in the area who do a really good job at it, and they throw me a lot of dirt and grading and stuff like that. I try not to step on their toes. It's like if you set up that good old boy situation where yeah, I'm gonna do this and you do that, and we'll just throw each other the stuff that comes. You throw me the dirt, I'll throw you the septics. The minute you start throwing those septic or start doing those septics yourself, you kind of lose any credibility. Like
Yeah.
at some point, a man has to be his word.
But I'm saying like I just love that you went with that network style of doing projects versus learning how to do every service under the sun in house.
It takes a lot of money to be set up to do every service under the sun. As we've grown, we've taken on more services, but when we started, I had a skid steer and a little grader. My buddy had a Mini X, and I knew a guy with a dump truck. Together, we were a pretty good size outfit. But separate, we were kind of stuck doing what we knew, I guess.
Yeah. What's your bread and butter today?
My bread and butter today, it's been road building. It's what I like to do. I like to get the scrapers out and the blades and do that kind of work. And this, like I say, this year's been a prep for paving and a lot of private subdivision roads. So we built a lot of country gravel roads. So that's it's the best money because we're not in town dealing with a whole bunch of inspectors. We're kind of out in the country where we like to be, and you got a little more room, a little more freedom, and
there's not a lot of houses yet either, right?
It's catching up to us. We're kind of the next spot that's really going to blow up out here.
But I'm saying these projects that you're working on, those like subdivision.
We're the first ones.
You're the first ones in. Yeah,
we're pioneering roads and doing all that.
That's awesome.
And then last year we had a lot of flood work that we did. We had some big rains that washed out a bunch of roads and spent a lot of time reclaiming people's ponds and driveway crossings and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think I read somewhere there's like 2.7 million miles of gravel road in the United States.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if there was more. Heck, there's a couple thousand just in this county alone. There's a ton of it out there, and a lot of times these rural subdivisions are easier to get pushed through than they are to. It's easier to go split up 1,000 acres into 35-acre lots than it is to split up 1,000 acres into, you know, half acre, quarter acre lots and stack them all on top of each other. The infrastructure is, minuscule compared to what you need to do those. So most of the time it's just go cut a road through and trench power in, and everybody else does well in septic. And, you know, after you put the road and power in, it's on to the builder. So,
Yeah. So where did you guys, I mean, how quickly did you grow to 8 employees?
within year and a half, I was up to 8 employees.
Wow. And when you had 8, what were you primarily, like, were you doing, how many crews were you running? What kind of work were you doing?
I had 2 full crews and my trucks running. So I had a barn company, and so basically I had a crew doing barn pads and driveways, plus whatever random project showed up. And then I had me and another crew we had about 12 miles of county road we built out here that we got brought in on. And I had me and 3 guys out there running on it. There was one we teamed up on with another guy. He had the scraper, I had the blade, but I also had one of my guys come in, run his scraper while he, ran off and ran his loader, and we were running trucks on site. It was a hell of a mess is what it was. I grew way too quick and it was way too stressful. I've tried to build this thing to where I run completely on cash. So I've never taken out a revolving line of credit. I only run on the money that comes into me. And so far in 5 years, I've been able to do that. We've been able to get ourselves built up to where we got about, 6-7 month cushion of wages and everything sitting there. So we really can do that. But to get there, man, it was a fight sometimes where I'm looking at the fact I got payroll going out on Monday, and I'm like, man, Friday's getting here. It's getting real close. I hope some checks come in. And then, it's almost like some divine intervention. A check shows up on Wednesday and nobody knows the real struggles that we were going through.
Yeah. I hope that's a common scenario. It's like, get out there, get gritty, try to run cash as much as you can. And it's true. There's a lot of weeks that you're scratching your head. Like, I walked in those shoes, my man.
But, and I'm thankful we've done it that way, because where we're at now, I'm starting to get my machines pretty much paid off. I owe on a few, but, I was there for a while. I had 20 grand a month going out in machines, plus another 25, 30 going out in payroll. And, I watch a bunch of other companies where they're kind of doing the same thing, but they went out and they got the revolving line of credit. You see these dudes, they're driving around in $100,000 pickups. And I'm like, man, what am I doing wrong? 2 years later, they're out of business and we're still chugging.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're doing nothing wrong. And that's, that line of credits, it's nice to have as a cushion when you do start, especially when you start doing larger projects and the payouts aren't 30 days. Sometimes it's a net 60, or they've got to do a carry back on that project, and you might need a little help from time to time. But yeah, those guys will take advantage of that, and you'll start noticing like the nice trucks, the brand new equipment, and let's be honest, Danny, there's nothing that a 2019 skid steer can't do that a 2024.
Exactly. I mean, you're starting to get into some of these where the technology on these new next gen machines they're pretty cool to have, but with the way we're set up, I'm not running any GPS. Yeah, I got a laser grader now for my skid steer, but it took me 3 or 4 years to get to a point where I had that. Everything else was just hubs and string line.
Yeah.
So, as far as it goes, my graders are all older, except I got an M series. It's a joystick machine, but none of it's on grade control. So we kind of run the old ways. And I see there's a bunch of other new companies that are starting up. In 2 months, they've got GPS, brand new machines. And I'm like, man, you're sitting there on $3 or $4 million worth of machines, and there's no way you can be doing. Like, I don't understand it.
Yeah. And then, the other thing that I think those guys are sitting on, an unskilled workforce, because when that GPS goes down, how many of those guys are going to be able to grade by the old way?
Oh, yeah. There's how do I put it? I've seen a lot of guys that they get in and they rely on the GPS, but most of the time they can always figure out, necessity requires that they either get good or die.
Yeah.
And they eventually do, and they get through it. It's that whole, how to put it. You think that they're just so stuck on it, or that there's no way they could get it done without having those autos to flip on, but they always find a way. So.
Yeah, when we worked when I ran Deemer equipment, we sold a lot of equipment for bulldozers also.
Yeah.
And all the companies that owned bulldozers. And it became a common theme is like, yeah, the worst part of GPS is that you have an unskilled labor force now. And if the system goes down, like they don't know how to work for the day. Like, yeah, we'll figure it out over the length of the project. But when it first goes down, he's like, most of my operators have no clue.
The worst thing that you see that I ever saw was they didn't know how to, if you ever had to set a stake or, read a set of stakes or read a set of plans, like that's foreign to a lot of people now. And it makes it, I can see it being pretty hard. Luckily, my guys are versed in everything. Like they can run grade control now. They can run GPS. Because pretty much anybody after 2 hours can figure out how to run GPS. It's everybody's so skilled on computers. 20 years ago, people were near skilled on computers. Everybody now has so much power in the palm of their hands that, they're used to navigating them.
Yeah.
But like I say, my guys, they can read plans or they can hop in a GPS machine and go be proficient.
Right. What do they say? The computing power in your hand is equivalent to like an IBM server that filled up a 20 by 20 room in the late 60s, early 70s.
They used to tell me that the 950G cat loader had more technology on it than the Hubble telescope. That's an impressive feat. That's 25, 30 years ago now. So
yeah. Well, I mean, and we're getting off track here, but I enjoy it. They have showed this documentary, and like the Dallas Cowboys were one of the first football teams to bring in this computer to review analytics and stats and kind of start building player profiles for drafts. And they showed the computer on this documentary, and I'm like, it's the size of a minivan. And all it did was like print out on that old green and white paper some numbers. Like it wasn't, I mean, that was it.
Yeah, it's absolutely baffling when you see just how far this stuff has really come. And it's really done it in a short time. Just look at what it was even from 2018, 2019 to now. I mean, there's a ton of these machines coming out with auto steer and just things where the GPS and the technology is integrated into the machines where you didn't have that 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And if you really want to see some wild technology, like go look at all the innovations that CAT has for the mining division.
Oh, yeah. All the autonomous trucks.
They're all being ran right here out of Peoria, Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to see a bunch of those. We go up to the big mines. There's a mine here in Cripple Creek where there's a camera that sits on the drivers. You start blinking too much, the truck senses that the driver's tired and fatigued. It'll shut the truck down. Like there's the technology that's out there that we don't even see on a daily basis. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, there's like a whole crew here in Peoria that will manage the maintenance and preventative maintenance for those. I don't know, what are they, $5-10 million dump trucks or more?
Yeah, they got to be in that. I mean, 3 to 4 up in that mark. Yeah.
And it's just wild. So like you can look at that technology, so you can see what's possible with the autonomy and once you get that dialed in on that large scale, I think shrinking it down to, D7, D10, it's not out of the realm of questions.
I think one of the autonomous things you're going to have issues with is, I don't know really how we got onto this, but it's how good is Wi-Fi. We all know how Wi-Fi can be sketchy. Now, like I say, everything seems to be rapidly getting better, but we all have issues where cell service doesn't come into play and Wi-Fi is bad. So you're always going to have an operator somewhat close on some of these projects.
I'm just saying, like, you could close your eyes and see a world in 5 years from now and I wouldn't be shocked by that.
No, I feel like there's always going to be a group of guys that you're gonna fight hell seeing it take over.
I completely agree with you.
Larger companies where they can start getting rid of manpower and maybe have some of these machines running autonomously where you got one guy managing 2 or 3 on a site. There you might be cooking with something. But,
right. No, I don't think it'll ever. I mean, you can't ever get rid of the small business owner in the way that you guys operate. Like that's always going to be there.
I hope so. I sure do.
Well, The day that Elon Musk Optimus program with those robots can run a whole excavation company, I hope to God I'm dead by then.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I just hope that I can get one and have it grease my machines for me. Damn, that's what I'm talking about.
They're saying those things are only going to be like 30 grand next year.
Well, and I look at like 30 grand for one of those. If you could really get it to do some work for you, that might be worth looking into.
I mean, let's just stay low level, right? Like how much is a in-home housekeeper or maid and all that? And how long does 30K take to pay back on just the basic stuff?
Just look at low level operator or low level workers on the job site anymore, just entry level guys.
Yeah,
Here you're paying entry level guys $22 an hour. Hell, I was running $1 million job sites for 20, and that wasn't that long ago.
right.
So, $20 an hour, if you're paying $50,000, $60,000 a year for a guy, you can go get two of those bad boys, and I don't think they'd ever get tired. You just got to keep them charged.
You just got to keep them charged. Yeah, and they showed the videos of those damn robots. Have you seen this thing? Have you seen these Optimus robots?
No, I've just seen a bunch of the memes.
Dude, all of the testing for the last 18 months, they were working side by side in Tesla on the factories with employees.
Oh, no kidding.
And they did his live event a couple weeks ago, and they had these things bartending, walking the crowd, having conversations with people. It was wild.
The dumb thing about this is we've all seen movies about how this stuff goes awry. Like, we should probably rethink it.
We should probably rethink it. Yeah. Wait till there's so many movies out there where computers just learn to go, oh, I can think for myself. I don't need you to do this.
Terminator, damn it. It was out. We were all little kids when that movie came out. We should know better.
I know. Isn't it crazy like to look at all the movies from the youth and go, we're a little later
right?
than
They thought the future was going to look like versus what it actually does.
Yeah. Yeah. And, is the Jetsons a reality someday? Like, will we be in flying cars and hovering houses to fill the population growth?
Oh, man, I hope it's long after my life.
Oh, me too, man. Me too. But what started out as a joke now is like, well, it's like a sliver of light on that reality that I wouldn't be shocked if it ended that way.
Oh, yeah, Lord. That's too much for me to even think about. I don't know. Yeah.
So back to business real quick, because we don't have robots out there doing the work for us. How are you going about, like, I mean, you've been 5 years now. You've had quite a range of projects. You've probably got one hell of a network between other business owners, builders, things of that nature. But what do you still have to do any marketing or branding for your business to go get leads or new connections?
I really don't. It's a lot of it's word of mouth so I don't have a website. And I don't really do much of any advertising. Every now and then, back when we were doing driveways, we'd throw up a bunch of Facebook ads. And that's about as far as we really went with it. I'll say this for example, like it was a $400,000 project for us this year. And I got it because I did a barn pad for a barn dominium that a guy was doing. He said, hey, do you do parking lots? I'm like, hell yeah, we do parking lots. And then the next thing you know, we're in there, and that's where I went and I took the job on, and then I brought my buddies who do the paving. And then the next thing you know, we're doing projects that was our biggest project how do I put it? Our big road jobs were much larger, but they were much more expensive in the long run. But this was our shortest, like, month-long project that was worth over like $200,000-$300,000. So I mean, it was a really highest risk for us, and it went really well. But we got into it because of a darn barn pad we did. So
That's awesome.
It's crazy how it goes. Like it goes back to, like I say, you do a driveway for someone, and then the people they work for, they know somebody that needs you to come in and build a mile of road. It's just
right.
I don't know if I've done anything special or if I just got lucky or what it was, or if there was some sort of divine intervention that came in and said, here's your chance to be successful. All you got to do is just show up and do it. And that's kind of what it seems like it's been. So
It's the showing up part that seems easy.
yeah, I mean, I make it sound like say like it was easy, but no, it has been a lot of hard damn work and some stressful nights, and it's the same story that every small business owner has, but at the same time, it was not something I ever expected to. It's not like I'm really educated. I didn't go to college. I didn't do any of that. I got out of high school, jumped into running machines, and then the next thing you know, 20 years later, I'm a business owner. So it's not like I had a business degree or anything to back it up, or like I got friends that did that. They went to college and they got those degrees, and then and they built their companies. And I think they're probably business wise far ahead of me. Because my office skills are going to be what limit my company when it's all just to cut down the brass tacks.
So, and Danny, I outsource it, hire it.
And that's where we're getting to, but that's a
Yeah.
heck of an overhead to take on, to get somebody worth it, and you're looking at 100, 125, $130,000 a year.
So, okay, what part of your office because to me, you've got daily phone answering, bookkeeping, management, scheduling, and then you've got like project estimators, sales, and all that. Like, where are you looking at when you talk about that?
When you go from being a small business, when it's easy to go out and bid like a riding arena for, Tom over here on his 30 acres. I can go out there, I can look at where he wants it, and I can say, okay, it's going to take me 2 or 3 days. It's going to cost this. We're going to need this much materials. These are the steps we got to go through. I can put it on a bid and send it out to him. It's going to that next level where you're chasing permits and dealing with cities and counties. And that's really where we're going. When you get the machines I got, you can only do good old boy dirt for so long before you really got to get out and start chasing with the big boys that do have the guys that's what they do all day long.
Right.
I do that at night, and then in the morning I wake up, I go get the guys lined up, and then I hop in the cab of the machine and run that machine and answer phones. And then at the end of the day, I start it all over again. I go back into the office and do what I got to do. And then at some point in there, you got to find a time to be, a husband, boyfriend, father to your kids. Like that's what's truly going to be what limits me. And at some point in time, I'll either outsource it or I'll merge in, like those asphalt guys I was telling you. Sometimes on these projects, when they come to me, I just send them to them. They're better suited for the office side. They handle that stuff on the front end. And then now I just sub to them on the project. And the people that came to me, they still get me on the site doing the dirt work and everything they want. But the company that's better suited to run it is handling it.
Is them.
That's kind of the avenue that I've taken. And it also keeps me from taking on that overhead.
Right.
And keep doing dumb things. So
no, but I bet you could find a reasonably priced office manager helper that could start answering phones during the day, returning emails, scheduling materials, at least figuring out what permits you needed. And maybe she's not, or he's not the greatest, but like you're talking 15, 18, maybe $20 an hour in that regard. And how many hours a week does that buy back for you to be with your family? Or
the thing is now that we are starting to get ahead on some of our machine payments, we're starting to get out of some of those, and the company, you start off here, you start off with a skid steer and a grader, and you get everything dialed in where the company runs like a smooth machine. And then okay, I can do this now, and you jump up to that. To where I'm at, I'm just now starting to get everything to where it runs really smooth, and it's kind of, 1 foot after another, you keep going. So my logical next step is to start looking for someone like that. But I also kind of like the working with the network of guys too. It saves me for my profits aren't going to change. I'm still getting the same jobs. I'm still going to do the same work. I'm just letting them deal with the headache, and it works for them because they're smart enough. They mark it up. They make money off of it. They're not dumb.
Mm-hmm. And really, to me, that's a great workaround, right? Like, you know your strengths and weaknesses, and you know theirs, and they're a great partnership for you.
And I think that, end game, long run, those are companies that really they want to jump up and do 20, $30 million a year. Those guys are. They have a much bigger picture than me. For me, it was once I started growing this, I wanted to turn it into a place where, I got my nephew, he works for me. My brother works for me. Uh, I got a big old 6'4" Texan who I pretty much adopted him 10 or 12 years ago, and he works for me. So it's a family and friend run situation. I got another nephew that's going to be coming up here in a few years that will bring him in. So for me, it's not about chasing that $20 million. I want to do the work I like to do with the people I love to do it with and make a good living doing it and be able to provide for them. I watched for years everybody, they work real hard during the summer, then struggle during the winter. And the idea is with this is we work real hard during the summer, and when winter slows down, I pay out my guy's salary. So I don't pay him hourly. So during the winter, when it's time to shut down, they get their same paycheck they get during the summer. All like they don't have to change their lifestyle.
Take it to the bank.
Mm-hmm. So that's what made some of those early years really tough was, when I brought them in, I was like, I can't pay you as much as everybody else. I said, but I'll pay you through the winter. Like you'll always have, an income. You're not going to have to worry about a 20-hour week. You're going to get paid the same. Now, during the summer, that's easy to do. During the winter, you're like, oh man, I sure hope that check comes tomorrow. So,
yeah, I remember being, because I grew up in the bar and restaurant industry. That's where I cut my teeth in business in the early 2000s, late 90s, running other restaurants and all that. So, I remember reading about this restaurant owner in Chicago, Illinois. His name was Charley Trotter. He's passed away since then, but he was in 1998. I think I heard about him. 99. It was revolutionary. He paid all of his server staff a salary, and they pooled tips. Okay. And and this is back in the 90. Those pooled tips just went towards the salary, was spread evenly. And with that, they also bought health insurance and had he treated it like a manufacturing business instead of a restaurant.
Yeah.
His servers worked for him for decades, and he was a Michelin star. But it's that outside the box thinking, like, oh, everybody wants to pay you a really great wage for 6-9 months and then cut you off and say, I'll call you in March. Like, there's a better way to do it.
Well, and that's kind of the reason I've chose the way. Like this year, I finally got everybody. I got everybody on complete full company paid insurance. They don't have to pay for none of it. It's all paid for by us, and it's pretty good stuff. I mean, it's still small business insurance. It's not like what the big guys can get you, but it's still zero deductible. It's good stuff for them, and it means a lot to me to be able to take care of them that way. But back to where I was getting at is, my buddies, they have that idea of they want to get up to $15 to $20 million a year, where I don't want to do that. I just want to get paid for the work I do, make a good living, build a retirement. I still want to make $1 million or $2 million. I just don't need to make.
I don't need to make. Yeah. That's a different level set of headaches, man.
At some point in time, if I get everything rolling and they decide they want to buy my stuff, they can have it, and then me and the boys will retire and go hunting and fishing every weekend. So who knows? We'll see.
There you go. Yeah. So out in the Eastern Plains, more mule deer than elk, right?
Actually, so where I live, there's a ton of elk out here.
Really?
Like they've been making their way back east. Here, the Elbert, Kiowa area, there's probably 500-600 elk that run around. And it's a over-the-counter tag. The problem is trying to find land you can hunt on. Everybody that's got land to hunt on, that's more valuable than gold these days.
I know it.
But we do have a few whitetail running around. They want to get rid of those, but we got a lot of antelope and a lot of mule deer too. So.
Yeah. What's your hunting of choice?
Oh man, my favorite time is to go down to Texas and shoot pigs.
That's some wild shit down there, isn't it?
You can go down there and be a redneck and chug beers and shoot pigs and have a hell of a time. But up here,
yeah, we called the company years ago because I want to go down there and do one of those hunts, and like the guy answered the phone, is like, "You want to shoot them or stick them?" And I'm like, "Excuse me." They would actually surround them with dogs and let you jump on them with a knife. He's like, yeah, but if you kill a dog, you got to pay for it. And I was like, I don't think you're the right outfitter for me. This sounds a little more.
Shit, that's a little barbaric for me, you know.
That's a smidge wild.
Those dogs tend to get tore up pretty bad. I like my dogs. I don't want that. I don't want to be a part of that. Shooting them, I love that. For my 40th, my old lady wants to take me down and do a helicopter pig hunt.
Those look wild.
And I'm deathly afraid of heights. I'm gonna tell you that much right now. Like I am afraid of heights, but I think I will swallow my pride and deal with it on that.
Yeah.
Just love to hang out of the cab of an helicopter, just blast away.
And just, yeah. You see those YouTube videos, and there's some of those sharpshooters that are really good. Just like ding, ding, ding.
Well, my biggest fear is that we're going to do it. We're going to spend all that money on it. I'm not going to hit a damn thing. I'm going to look like a fool up there.
Yeah, those pigs, and they're evasive. Like there's parts of Illinois that have those wild pigs running around.
Oh, at some point in time, they'll make their way across. It's just look at they're up into Oklahoma. They're crawling into southern Colorado now, down in some of the canyon country. So it won't be long. I mean,
yeah,
they'll be everywhere. I'd rather keep them down in Texas to be. I'm not saying that because of anything against Texas, but better there than here. We got some highly erodible soil. They tear shit up here real bad,
real fast. Yeah, that's like our Illinois River up here. There was a fish farm that raised these carp for dog food.
Mm-hmm.
And it flooded once and the pins broke out. And that's why there's the Asian carp population.
Oh,
that's the story I've heard.
Well, I can see that. I mean, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Things. Heck, these pigs they're now like a Russian boar cross. They've mixed in with, some of the pigs that local people had. It's out of hand. But there's a ton of exotics running free down there. That's what makes hunting down there pretty cool. It's not, you can't, you got to realize you're over here. You can drive around down there. You can see aoudad. You can see all sorts of different types of deer, fallow, axis. Pretty cool stuff down there.
Yeah, and you meet a landowner, you're like, how big is your ranch? He's like, 1,000 acres. You're like, excuse me? Or 10,000 acres?
Or more.
Or more.
Oh, we got 14,000 in that pasture. I'm like, that's not a pasture. That's a cow. Come on.
That King's Ranch down there on the border's huge.
Oh, yeah. And the Wagoner up there, that thing's massive. The 4.6s down there, that thing, it's an unfathomable amount of land that these people have. But
yeah, it's like the size of Vermont.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or more. Yeah.
And I got trouble just taking care of the little property that we got. Hell, I couldn't imagine having that much to try to maintain.
Oh, unbelievable.
But,
again, different set of headaches, right?
I feel like we get so far off of the topic if we're.
That's kind of what the show's kind of turning into, right? Like, hey, let's have some business, some life.
We all go into business just to do this, to live the life we want to live. I think that's what everybody goes into it for.
Yeah, and everyone's vision of their life's a little bit different. So I always love exploring those too. I mean, let's be honest, Dan, I've been doing this for 2 years. How many times can I hear that? Like, I was working part-time. I bought a skid steer. Like it's a very similar story. So like to be able to dig in and like what was your reasoning for that and talk about your mindset and what drives you and your passions and what you do in your free time. I think it resonates with a lot of guys out there. I know it resonates with me because we get so locked into being the business owner and we're always looking to grow that business. We forget that there's a whole life outside of business that we still need to be the man in.
One of the things I think the guys that are going out there looking at, like, they're watching the machinery trader, watching what's out there, trying to find their first skid steer, their first mini X. The person you are your first year in business, that's not going to be the person you are year 2, year 3, year 4. Your original goal is like you want to get this machine going. You're looking for some sort of independence, or you've got some small goal that you're chasing. They got to learn. And I wish someone would have kind of talked to me about this when I started. Is like, what is your goal going to be once you've accomplished your first goal? Where are you going to go? And what is your next goal? Like, how do you want to grow? What do you want to do? And, I always had this vision, like this was the direction I was going to go. Like I wanted to get into, how do I put, like I've always wanted to get into I really would love to just cut subgrade for asphalt companies. Like to go do asphalt prep. It's pretty easy on your graders and on your machines, and it's super technical and it's fun work to do. It's taken me 5 years to get to a point where I could really set in and do enough of that to make a living. And getting there, I've had to change my goals and my directions 3 or 4 times just to get to that point. And I think the most important thing is that people need to, the guys, when they're getting into it, they got to realize they got to be fluid with who they want to be and where they want to be in order to get to that final spot, if that makes any sense at all.
Absolutely. And we always talked, and I don't remember who taught me this, but I've used it a lot over the years. And again, you're fluid. So just because I say close your eyes and what's your life look like in 10 years from now, we're not painting this in concrete, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to me, if you can't visualize that life or business size or what you're doing or what you'd love to be doing in 10 years, then you can't build the roadmap of those goals that put you on that track for the long-term plan.
Yeah.
Right. We got to break that down into benchmarks. What's the 5-year goal, the 3-year goal, the 1 year, the 90-day?
Yeah. Like I said, I look back on where I started and, I think of where I wanted to be when I first started. It was literally, it's like, let's just land a couple jobs a year. And, we all got great jobs right now. Let's just live, we'll do that. And then that'll pay for us to go have fun. And then we're not digging into any savings or anything. It's just going to be a great thing, and then it turns into, okay, well, now I've got these opportunities. And the minute you start hiring people, that changes who you are, because you've taken on them, their family, their kids, their dreams, what they want to get. You're not only are you accomplishing what you're trying to do, you're trying to help that young guy that just started with you. You're trying to help him buy his first car, his nice pickup or some dumb thing that he probably doesn't need to go get. But, that's what they're able to do that off the salary they earned from you. You got to be able to look at that as your accomplishment as well.
Yeah. It's a privilege to have employees.
It is. It is. And the real privilege to having employees is, I'm lucky. Like the guys I got, they understand that it's a privilege to do what we're doing too.
Yeah.
That not everybody has the opportunity to go out and work with their family in a lax schedule. And, my brother, he never has to miss a game or a sporting event for his son. I don't have to miss anything. When it comes down to it, it's going to, you know what? We're shutting down today. We're going to go, we got family stuff to do. Next week, I got a niece getting married down in North Texas. We're shutting the whole company down, and we're all going to go down. And nobody ever has to miss anything in order to keep the company going, or they don't have to worry about stepping away from the company for a little while, and they know that there's a job back. They know that nothing changes.
Right.
And luckily, my guys are all well aware that it is a privilege to have the situation we got. So, no, we're pretty lucky, blessed people.
That's pretty awesome. And it's a lot easier to build the culture when you're all come from the same family.
Well, absolutely. And we've worked at the same companies, and, we like my nephew, we got him hired on at one of the companies we worked at in the past. And I didn't bring him on right away. It took about 4.5 years before we really brought him into the mix, just because I wanted him to see how the other side of the world lived and did their things, without being under the shadow of your uncles or, my dad is a tremendous dirt worker, and, he needed to see life in the sunlight without being in the shade of the family.
Right.
Brought him in, and now we're able to take what he knows and we can modify with how we do things. And it's been very, very good for him. And my next nephew coming up, I think I'll probably try to do the same thing with him. Like, it's not an insult that we're not hiring you on right away. We're going to get you started. Then you can go out, see how the world lives. Then we'll bring you back in, and you can see just how good we really do have it here.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear that a lot with, especially successful businessmen and their children, right? Like the kids are so used to seeing how that business operates from dad's point of view that they'll be like, go work over here or a different industry. But like, you got to see how business is outside of our little box.
Oh, they do. They do. And when you're working with family, setting the boundaries, the difference in family and work is very important. I worked underneath my dad. That sounds weird. So my dad was a blade hand. I was a scraper hand for a long time. I worked for him essentially.
Yeah.
About 10 to 15 years where I worked underneath my dad on job sites. How many father sons do you know that would have been able to handle that dynamic of being told, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that every day?
Right.
And I got to give my dad a lot of credit because not only did he create the passion for the work that we do that me and my brother have, he also showed us how to establish those boundaries where we can all work together. And there's never the I hate what my dad just said. Screw that guy. In 20 some years, we've never had a fight on a dirt job. We might have had a fight over what we thought the local football team should do, but it's never been a fight over work.
Right.
And so it's very important for, I think, families that are working together to have a very open mind and create solid boundaries.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know I like to get off topic with these things, but like, I just watched that series. It took me a long time to watch it at night. That Vince McMahon series on Netflix. It's like a
Oh yeah, I've been
docu-series
seeing it on
him.
there, but I don't think I can get the old lady convinced to let me watch that.
But it was cool because like when you were talking about you and your dad, all I could think about was like, oh, like Stephanie McMahon made it a hard rule to call him Vince when they were working. So there was no dad connection at work.
I could see that. I always call my old man Pops or something, and
Yeah.
I, without changing what I called him, we still separated that.
Yeah.
And that's a good point right there. Is like that's what you got to do. You got to.
Yeah, and
You're
I'm not saying to not call him dad, but like you have to figure out what works for your family dynamic that you have that separator.
You're going from coworker father son on your own.
And honestly, I've talked to a lot of guys, and the bigger issue isn't at work; it's the dinner table where work can't stop being talked about.
Yeah, that's a lot of business owners have that period. Not even just working with their family. I mean, that's something I've had to work really hard at shutting off too. Like when I come home to, my girlfriend and everything, and my mind is always on the project. Everybody who owns a business, they're like, if they really give a damn about their business, their mind goes 100 miles an hour all the time. Like it's either about the next job, what went on today, what's going on tomorrow. These bills got to be paid. I got to get this paperwork out. And being able to shut that off and give, girlfriend, wife, give them you, not just a shell of, who you are. That's a very important thing. And then to be able to do it with the kids too, and not, 5-year-old little boy is a lot to deal with. 5-year-old little boy, little girl, they're all a lot to deal with. And then when your mind's on work, you have a shorter fuse. I don't want to say a shorter fuse, but you're less likely to give them the attention that they really need from you when your mind is constantly running on those other things.
Yeah, like what do they say? Like, yeah, there's your presence, but are you present?
Yes. And the last couple years, I've really done a lot better job of, 5, 6 o'clock when I can handle all I can handle for the day. Now it's time to go home and be boyfriend, husband, father to the kids.
And let's be honest, Danny, that shit will be there tomorrow and the world's not burning down and you can pick up all that stress at 6:30 in the morning.
The best piece of advice I got was from a superintendent a long time ago when I first went from foreman to, I started running the bigger projects. I had an old man tell me, and you're young, you're full of gumption, you think you're going to change the world one successful project at a time. And this little boy told me, he said, "You're going to kill yourself." He said, it's the 5 minutes, 5 years thing. If this problem isn't going to mean a damn thing in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. It'll be there tomorrow. There's always going to be a solution. Good, bad, or indifferent, there's always going to be a solution for it.
Yeah.
So don't hate yourself. Don't work yourself up. Don't stress yourself out. Time will solve it. And
it's not gonna blow up your business.
Yeah, that was the best piece of advice I ever got. Because I mean, during the day you always get hit with something, and you're like, this is it. You want to blow your top about it, but then luckily that does kind of pop back in my mind, like, you know what, we'll get through it. We'll figure a way around it. Like there's just no need in letting it consume you.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Danny, but for me, I tend to notice, and I usually notice within the first hour and a half of the day. And I can just go, oh, today's gonna be one of those days where everything I touch is going to create a problem or is the problem.
Yesterday, man, I woke up, my old lady and the kid are sitting out on the couch, and I walk out and I stub my pinky toe. My thing is that my stepson, I tell him, he'll fall and he'll get up, he'll look like, look around and see if somebody's going to listen to him cry. And I look at him like, you gonna let it ruin your day? And he'll be like, no, no, I'm good. He'd shake it off. I stubbed my toe. It took me to the ground, and like it cracked a toenail. I was bleeding everywhere. My stepson looked at me. He's 5 years old, mind you. He's like, you gonna let it ruin your whole day? I'm like, bullshit.
But aren't you so impressed that you're teaching him that mindset now?
Oh, absolutely. But sure as hell, the whole day went south. We had a pipe burst in the shower and tore up a bunch of drywall. Yesterday was one of those days where within the first 20 minutes of being up, I knew that it was all going to be hell.
You knew it was going to be that day. And my mindset is like, good.
Right. Yeah,
let's get them all, throw them all at me today, because I want tomorrow to be smooth.
No, 100%, and then today went really well.
I'll take a terrible day of nothing, but every time the phone rings or the email goes off, or I'll take that day over 4 things happening I'll just take it.
Well, yeah, no, if you can have your one just hell day a month and then the rest of the month goes pretty smooth, I'll take that any day. Like that
all day. I mean, I'm not 100%. Saying that equates to that, but I would do that if I could choose.
Well, and, I think, it makes those days easier to handle as you get a little older, you learn how to handle them. By the end of the day, me and my girlfriend, we were laughing at like what else is it going to be? What's like phone ring? I'm like, that again,
Yeah, and that's when the universe is like, oh, he's not going to be angry anymore. I'm going to stop sending shit his way.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we were just talking the other day, like how if you've noticed people in your life that they just live a chaotic life, and you might have had an employee that way, or just a friend or a neighbor, like they function in the chaos.
Well,
but they bring chaos wherever they go too. It's just like, I feel like people with problems are the same way. If you handle them in a shitty manner, you're just going to get more of them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, chaos breeds chaos, and trouble breeds trouble all the time. Like, you get into a bad spot, you're going to do bad stuff to try to get out of it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're on a job site and something terrible happens, like your mindset should be like, good, because if we were a one-man crew, we wouldn't have the equipment to do this project, and we wouldn't even have this problem.
Right. Yeah, I got that big old 6'4" Texan guy I was telling you I got working for me. We love giving him hell. He's the most wonderful person I've ever met. Great hearted guy, hard working. He's really good at a lot of things, not really great at one thing. But if you could build a company out of guys like him, you're going to be successful.
Yeah, he's your utility man.
Yeah. He's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
And earlier this year, I lost a motor in a dump truck that sucked a turbo. The turbo went, and eventually it sucked the motor. Well, he was driving it. He called me up, and he's in a panic, and I know he's thinking that I'm going to be like just reading the riot act and take him to the cleaners. And like you could hear the panic and the distress in his voice, and I'm like, bud, what? First off, stop. What's wrong? He's like, man, the motor just ran away. The motor's gone. It just windowed. I'm like, okay. Are you okay? Like, first off, are you okay? Like, I'll buy another truck. That truck's going to be fine. It's motors go. That's the life we live. And the fact that I think that he felt that I think he really appreciated the fact that, that could happen and he didn't just get written up, ran to the cleaners. It wasn't his fault. Turbos just go
Right.
sometimes. Like, and I don't run new trucks. I like the old trucks. I think the new trucks are hideous. So I got 80s model, B model Kenworth that I think look cool. So, you're running that old stuff. You kind of open the door for something to happen. And that's just how you handle it. A lot of being a business owner is how you handle it when it happens.
It's shows your true character, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and what good does it do to, you know, you got a good guy that works for you, something bad happens, even if it is their fault, most of the time the problem is gonna be corrected in them long before you ever get the phone call from them. The minute it happens, they know what they've done wrong. So what is yelling at them gonna be?
Nothing.
It doesn't change shit for them. What you got to do is take 5-10 minutes and talk about what happened. Like, hey, so just so we're all on the same page, we're not doing this again, right? And make it kind of a joke. And when they go, yeah, no, and this is kind of why we do things this way. See, you skip this step and that caused this. This is why we do these things. It's the same stuff we've been doing for 100 years on a job site.
And it's okay to say, I'm going to need 5 minutes by myself before we talk about this.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Like, there's times they'll call me up, like, we got an issue. I'm like, yeah, you got to give me a minute.
I'm going to need 5 minutes before I can do it.
I'll get back to you.
Because I will MF you all day. And then, it's like that relationship advice. It's like, just walk away until you're a little bit cooler head.
Yeah.
Same thing with business.
Fighting. When you get after those guys in the heat of the moment, nothing good ever comes from it.
No.
I'm pretty lucky that I worked around a lot of really good guys coming up that taught me the ways to handle some of this stuff. Like, I know there's always guys they complain about the boss they had that was a yeller and a dick, and that guy just didn't like me. Well, 9 times out of 10, those guys were the problem. It wasn't the boss. And I'm just super thankful. Like, some of the supervisors and operations managers I've had in the past, man, those guys, they showed you how to handle stuff when everything was on fire.
Yeah.
Like, be the guy that settles the water when you come into a room, not the guy that shakes
it up. It's a huge difference. It's just that's a better workplace too for subcontractors, employees, anybody.
Well, it doesn't. Like I say, when you're a small company, you don't always have you don't have the benefits that these other big guys have to offer. So what you have to offer is atmosphere, small, like the feeling of like, hey, you are appreciated. Really it all comes down to it. Atmosphere is what you have to offer.
Yeah. Connection.
You have to build a good atmosphere so people want to be a part of it. If you want to retain somebody that's good, and then you actually got to pay too. But
yeah, and 100%. Man, that was some good wisdom right there.
It was something. I don't know. Kind of blacked out.
I thought it was great. I think it's a great ending point for the episode. I mean, I like to be cognitive of your time and the guys listening and all that. We don't very rarely do I like to get those run-on shows where they go on forever. We've been talking now for
I sure hope somebody got something good out of it.
Hour and 10 minutes. Well, Danny, I got something good out of it. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
It's always nice to hear just a different way of saying some of the same philosophies and thoughts that you either believe or you've been studying and trying to make yourself a better business owner or businessman or just a better man in general, and like, so to me that staying of 5 minutes, 5 years, I think that's going to stick with me.
It's worked real good for me. It's kept me out of a lot of jams, and I appreciate that old man for sharing it with me. He didn't have to.
Yeah. So. And I've always had the same philosophy or mindset. I just never had the words to describe it in that way where it just makes so much sense.
No, say it's been life-changing for me, to be honest.
I'm at the point now. I'm like, well, that shit will be there tomorrow. I'm not going to let it affect my dinner.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Really,
yeah. The business will still be here tomorrow. It's not collapsing. So we're good to go. So awesome, man. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please, we're going to put some links down to Danny's Facebook profiles, his business page, and all that in there. So reach out, tell him thanks for being a guest, tell him anything at all. We just love hearing from you guys. I know as men, we suck at writing an email, sending a text, thanking things. So there's a lot of weeks that we do this podcast with crickets. And then I'll get like a week where I'll have 6 or 7 people reach out or call or something and say something about how the podcast and the stories of you guys makes a difference. So we love hearing that. It's what drives us moving on. And I'm sure Danny would appreciate it too if he makes a difference in your life as men, as business owners. That's kind of why we do this, is to help the next generation prepare and get ready for life. And we can't do that if we keep all the secrets to ourselves.
Yeah, it's our legacy.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, man. I really do.
Yeah.
Shooting the shit with you.
No, this was great. And absolutely was. And I feel like you're one of those guys I need to bring in on that next round table when we bring a couple, 2 or 3 business owners together and just no agenda and let it rip for an hour and a half.
Oh, I'll rabble on for frickin' hours, man.
Yeah.
Give me the talk. I'll say something that means nothing to nobody. So
I love it, man. I love it. I think I want to bring that 6'4" Texan on the show too next time. I bet he's got to have some hella one-liners if he's.
You know what he does? He's probably just heard them from me, to be honest. He's just really good.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Pretty great guy.
Well, Danny, thanks again for being on the show. Guys, check it out. Don't forget, we also have Groundbreaking Growth. It's our coaching and consulting arm of the business. So if you're a business owner, you've hit that glass ceiling, you're struggling, you're not sure how to put the processes, frameworks, systems in place, there is an opportunity to work with me directly. Head over to groundbreakinggrowth.com. If you're interested, you could schedule a call. That call will be with only me. I hear all the time people are like, shit, it's actually with you. And I'm like, I literally say that every podcast episode. I don't let salespeople handle those calls. It's not a sales call. It's a discovery call. Can we even be a benefit for you? And are you ready for us to be a benefit for you? But yeah, I love connecting with those guys. So if you think that would be beneficial to your business, head over to groundbreakinggrowth.com. Link should be down below in the show notes and schedule that call. Until next week, guys, keep doing what you're doing. Try to grow 1% every day. See you on the other side.